This particular passage is so familiar that even atheists can hear the expression doubting Thomas and know what it means. Whenever I hear it, it reminds me of my mother. My mother had two pieces of advice which she offered often. The first, never do, write, or say anything that you would not want printed as a headline on the first page of the New York Times. Just try following that piece of advice. It is a real conversation stopper. Actually, I blame my mother for my total inability to make small talk. The other was equally skeptical. Don't believe anything that you read and only half of what you see. Thomas and my mother were kindred spirits. Thomas is really a very modern type. He needs to see it to believe it. Actually, he's even more particular than that. Seeing isn't enough for Thomas. He needs to touch the wounds to be able to believe that Jesus has risen, that the body he sees before his own eyes is really the Savior. There are many people just like Thomas in the world today, people for whom physical reality offers the only solid truth. And there are also those who challenge that belief. One of my favorites among the latter is the writer Flannery O'Connor, whose short stories use satire, irony, and wry humor to make up her readers. Assuming that the modern world is blind to faith, she assaults her readers with the grotesque in order that they may see. In one of her stories, A Good Man is Hard to Find, the reader meets a serial killer called the Misfit. He is, in the story, the good man who is hard to find. But to get the reader's attention, he is a serial killer. He is good in the Socratic sense. He has examined his own life and beliefs. He is good because he grapples with serious faith questions rather than settling for superficial social Christianity, which considers using the right fork, never going out without clean underwear, or always having a handkerchief, the commandments to follow. He, like Thomas, would like to have proof. He says, Jesus was the only one that ever raised the dead. I wasn't there, so I can't say he didn't. I wished I had been there. It ain't right I wasn't there, because if I'd been there, I would have known, and I wouldn't be like I am now. No pleasure but meanness. Not knowing, he chooses murder as his form of action. Most doubters might look for a middle ground. In fact, for most Christians, even saints and theologians, doubt is a part of faith. Frederick Buechner, one of my favorite theologians, says this about doubt. Whether your faith is that there is a God or that there is not a God, if you don't have any doubts, you are either kidding yourself or asleep. Doubts are the ants in the pants of faith. They keep it awake and moving. Faith, says Buechner, is better understood as a verb than as a noun, as a process than as a possession. Faith is not being sure where you're going, but going anyway, a journey without maps. Martin Luther King Jr. said, taking the first step when you don't see the whole staircase is faith. And much earlier, the Persian poet Khalil Gibran defined faith as an oasis in the heart which will never be reached by the caravan of thinking. But I think my favorite statement about faith comes from the great medieval theologian, St. Thomas Aquinas. To one who has faith, no explanation is necessary. To one without faith, no explanation is possible. So the story of Thomas speaks, I think, to all of us. We are all people who, like the misfit, were not there to witness the raising of Jairus' daughter or the raising of Lazarus or the resurrection itself. Unlike the misfit, we choose to believe where we cannot see. Jesus' words to Thomas are words to us. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed. And now, being blessed, the challenge for us is to live into the faith we profess.